It's all about family. Well, in this case, it's not Dom Toretto or any of those other fast-driving people. My Family is an Italian Netflix limited series that looks at the highs and lows a family undergoes when tasked with unexpected responsibilities. This is the story of Fausto and the last day of his life, a story of joy, passion, love for his children, and a lack of fear of the future. Also, this is the story of an absolute love and its dramatic and decisive breaking point. But above all, this is the story of an unlikely family, of a beloved clan, a stories of joys and falls, of laughs, of people capable of making macroscopic mistakes and small heroic gestures, in which everyone, no one excluded, doing their worst, will try to do their best. So, very quickly into episode 1 of this limited series, we learn that the main character, Fausto, is very sick, and he is preparing for the end of his life. Now, he has 2 young boys, and a highly dysfunctional family that's made up of his mom, irresponsible brother, and then 2 best friends, all of whom are going to need to learn to work together to take care of the children. Now, this is a strange mixture of comedy, romance, explosive family drama, and then deep sadness. And the combo sometimes gets a bit uncomfortable because of how realistically messy things become. The characters gel really well together, even though the dynamics are mostly on edge and tense. I think what makes them work as an ensemble is how fluidly they move through emotions, going from irate and screaming to hugging and laughing in the blink of an eye. There's passion in just about everything Fausto does, which also rubs off on his choice of friends. I mean, nobody in the series tends to do things halfway. It's all or nothing. And that also means committing fully to whatever emotion is at the forefront at that moment. Now, the series is relatively short, 6 episodes that are all around 45-ish minutes. And while they're moderately paced, the series didn't feel rushed until the very end. I'm going to get to that in just a bit. But for the rest of the series, we get good introduction to the characters and the relationships, along with each episode taking some of its time to focus on one particular character, their relationship and past with Fausto, and then how that informs their current situation. And it's easy to tell when things are flashbacks because of how Fausto looks. In the present, when we meet him in the first episode, his head is closely shaved. In all the flashbacks, though, he's got a full head of curly hair. There are also some dates that appears at times during certain flashbacks to help establish how far in the past we're looking back. But either way, I mean, it's easy to follow along. The alternating viewpoints of present and past, they also didn't feel like we were being ping-ponged back and forth throughout the show. The flashbacks appear at the proper times in the storytelling so that it feels like a natural point within the plot to look back at an interaction, just so that we can get the context of what's being experienced in the present. Now, going back to the tonal differences that are present throughout the series, this has the tendency to dwell in the angry and melancholic stages of relationships, which can make it a bit dour to watch. Now, Fausto is very explosive with all of his friends and family, which also risks turning him into a villain within the story. And while it can be difficult at times to watch him give over to his emotional outbursts, his passion for life and family does shine through too. The roller coaster that he takes us on, it's a lot. Sometimes it was tiring, where I just wanted him to get a grip and stop yelling and take a beat to just calm the heck down. Fausto would explain at times how that's just how his family is, and that while they argue loudly and viciously, that doesn't mean they don't love each other. Which normally I wouldn't buy, but seeing how the others interact with him, they all give as good as they take. So for the series, it can make sense, even if it's a completely foreign experience. Then to offset the shouting by Fausto, he's incredibly funny and carefree, which I think is encouraging to watch in a character, especially with what he's facing. The honesty and forthrightness that he presents to his sons, it's commendable, encouraging them and then providing them with tools to cope what is going to happen to him. There's also a storyline involving Fausto's wife, and I think she unfairly gets made into a monster within the story. She's just as explosive and even outrageous as Fausto, and even the other characters. But one element within the plot works to really put us against her. Now, if you simply look at the character on a surface level, I think it is easy to cast her as a villain. But there's a deeper issue within the relationship that feels skimped on within the arc, giving us small details here and there which work to reinforce a certain mindset towards her. But then, when other background is brought to light, it doesn't receive the same amount of story attention that it deserves, especially because it could alter the trajectory of the entire outcome. And I'm not sure the writing would know where to go after that. Now, I'd mentioned that the ending felt rushed. Part of that is because certain elements are left unresolved, which then became unsatisfying for me. mean, they have the sting of truth, and I know that not everybody gets a happily ever after, but I was hoping that this might leave me with more of an uplifting perspective than what it does. Moments with the characters feel as though they're incomplete, maybe unresolved. Like, for example, there's a conversation between the two brothers, the young kids of Fausto, and it's left hanging there, not providing the conclusion, but instead only showing us half of a perspective. And while the storytelling may lean more towards the realistic, for the emotional weight of the show, I would have liked things to have been concrete and finalized. Now, at least we get to see a ton of character growth in the series. Each of the characters demonstrates how they've matured or learned or just simply faced the truth and then have worked to embrace their emotions and the present. I found that to be encouraging, especially with Fausto's brother and his best friend Demetrio. They both had the most growth to experience, and although it's painful, they get a lot of strength through their acceptance of responsibility. Now, something that is outstanding within the series is the soundtrack. Fausto loved rock, and we get to hear songs from The Clash, The Cure, Frankie Valli, Gianna Nannini, LCD Soundsystem, and so many more. I mean, music is actually a defining characteristic within the show, using songs, bands, and their merch to create icons that are meaningful for Fausto, which then he passes along. And at no part did this feel like they were being shoehorned into the storyline. I mean, each inclusion, it was natural, and it fit with both Fausto's personality and then the overall message of the series. So overall, My Family is an easy binge, but one that will tug at your heart, slap you across the face, make you a bit angry, and then tickle your funny bone simultaneously. While the ending is somewhat vaguely unresolved, the storytelling throughout the series is both enveloping and emotionally devastating, mixing emotions to capture our attention and keep us gripped to the screen. This also features an awesome soundtrack, deepening the music's connection to the characters and then to the audience. There's sex, nudity, a ton of profanity, and a little violence. I give My Family 3.5 out of 5 couches. This one won't leave you in the happiest of moods, but it does contain a lot of sweetness mixed in with the mournful tone. Alright, so what have you been watching lately? Anything great that you'd like to recommend? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.